Can you hear me?
Yes, that's good.
Oh, sorry about that. My name is Stephen Clark Martin. I'm originally from Panama, which is where I'm sitting. I grew up in the U.S., got an early start in technology, doing all sorts of interesting things in Web 1 and Web 2, and I'm glad to be here in Web 3. My journey in the blockchain domain started, around the time that Bitcoin started gaining popularity, and very much during the Ethereum DAO. I was sitting in San Francisco, California, really thinking about the future and how the blockchain ecosystem looked a lot like the early days of the Java technology space, where Java was used to build a lot of the personalization and e-commerce systems that we use today. I had spent some time in the ad tech domain at Yahoo and spent many years in the Bay Area and all over the world, really, building technology, everywhere from Frankfurt with Deutsche Bank to companies in Brazil and Mexico and over the US. I'm fortunate to be part of this BlockDAG network launch, advising on policy and partnerships. One of the things that I've been doing in the last several years is helping the Ethereum ecosystem in Panama and Latin America in general. But before then, I spent a lot of time, in addition to the Ethereum ecosystem, in the Cardano ecosystem and a few other blockchain projects. So I'm glad to bring some experience from both the technology side and from the startup ecosystem side to looking at how we can build a long-term sustainable market network of both technology and innovation to build a future. Over to you, Yusuf.
Yeah, hello guys. Hello. So my name is Yusuf Khoulaj. I'm a professor and a PhD student in my second year in blockchain security. As Stephen mentioned, so we all jumped from Web 2 to Web 3. So I spent like more than 8 years in security industry. I was a bug bounty hunter, Web 2 bug bounty hunter. I found many vulnerabilities, critical vulnerabilities in most of application, critical application like United Airlines, WhatsApp, and so on. So then I tried to move to Web3 industry, and I jumped in Web3 industry through Montreal Blockchain Laboratory, and after that I jumped to Nethermind, and Nethermind as smart contracts auditor, and then I felt a passion about blockchain, and I start learning other blockchain network like Solana, work on Solana, Rust, Caro, Starknet, Hedera Hashgraph, which is not a blockchain, it is a DLT. So now I'm a chief security officer at BlockDAG network, and I'm here to make the world more secure and to make BlockDAG network more secure. I received many recommendations from the governor office, IT office, Colorado governor IT office, and from the members of blockchain security researcher of Checkpoint, and many others well-known personality in the security industry. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks very much, Yusuf. So we had hoped that Morris was going to join us as well. Morris Hurley, he's an ex-Harvard, ex-MIT professor. He's currently teaching blockchain and other courses at Brown University. So he's our academic and on the advisory board advising us around cryptography, blockchain, etc. He's in Hong Kong at the moment presenting a paper, so he wasn't able to join us. So before we go into the questions, I'd just like to take a moment to share where we are. And just to show my appreciation for everyone on the call and everyone who supported us, we've got 92,000 unique coin holders. So those are the people that have bought our coin, that have supported us, and that's from more than 150 countries. So I mean, that's fantastic that so many people are out there supporting us. If we look at where we are and where we're going, the team estimates that by the time we hit our pre-raise cap, that we'll have over 1 million unique coin holders. I mean, that's a massive community, and that propels us straight into the top 50 in terms of market cap when we launch towards the end of the year. So that's just, yeah, a shout out to the team for a fantastic job done, and everyone else for supporting us. So I'm going to start going through some of the questions that we've received. As I said, we've curated them so that we don't have duplicates. So the first one is just really sort of around the background. So what is the name of the country and where is it based? So the company that is issuing BlockDAG is based in Seychelles. It's called DAG Systems Limited. It's important for now because everyone wants to know where we're situated, but at the end of the day, BlockDAG will become a decentralized organization. So, and I'll talk more to this later, but we're going to be setting up a foundation in Switzerland. So it's less about the company where the tokens are issued from and more about the community that we set up. As I said, the foundation in Switzerland, and that'll house a lot of the functions in terms of the economic future of BlockDAG. The second question is, and I think they're being posted, they should be posted in the chat as well. So it's difficult to keep up with that as well as my notes. So the second question is, and there were a couple of them obviously around this, but really asking what is unique about BlockDAG and why does it matter? Essentially, why did we launch BlockDAG? So a little bit about BlockDAG. So we're effectively building a layer 1 hybrid. So by layer 1, we obviously mean it's the rails that power the network. So typically you have your layer 1s, which would be Ethereum's and various sort of networks. And then on top of that, you would build your functionality, your dApps, your smart contracts, etc. So we're a layer 1, but we're a hybrid. So what we did is we looked around and we took the best from a couple of different technologies. So we chose proof of work as the essence of our technology, and that is effectively a Bitcoin blockchain. And why Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin is the gold standard. We certainly believe that from a security perspective as well as from a decentralization perspective. So the problem with Bitcoin is, and we all know this, it's slow. And because it's slow, it also means the transaction fees become quite high, especially when the network is busy. So although Bitcoin was meant to be this ubiquitous transactional decentralized capability, it's become something slightly different, and that's purely due to the fact that it's slow and it's not usable for microtransactions. So what we did then is we added a DAG, and a DAG is a directed acyclic graph. And a DAG, instead of a traditional blockchain which is linear, a DAG is a tree structure, which means it creates and processes blocks in parallel. So you add the DAG to Bitcoin or to a traditional blockchain and you get increased speed. So you get increased transaction speed and you get increased scalability. On top of that, we've added EVM compatibility. So what that does is means that when we launch, we're compatible with the Ethereum EVM ecosystem in terms of smart contracts, in terms of dApps, etc. Over time, we'll build our own, but that does mean that out the gate, we have this compatibility with the world out there, which is already in existence. So that was really important. So just to summarize, we have the security and decentralization of Bitcoin. We have the speed and scalability of a DAG, and then we've got the interoperability of an EVM. So over and above that, we looked at various other innovations, and we've built that in as well. So the first thing is, as I mentioned, we're proof of work. So proof of work typically gets a lot of criticism in terms of the energy it uses. So we've looked at the algorithms and we've made them more efficient. So they use less electricity and they're a lot more green. The other thing that we've done is typically mining rewards are reduced at a set time interval, and that's the typical sort of the Bitcoin halving. And that in Bitcoin happens every 4 years. In other chains, it might happen every year, etc. So there are different ways the halving happens. So what we've done is we've re-engineered that so it's a continuous process, which takes away the shock that the miners feel every 4 years or every 1 year. And it also takes the shock away from the price because this happens on a continuous basis. The other things we've done, and they're numerous, too many to mention now, but the other thing that's important is from a fee perspective, what no one likes is the fact that the fees go up and down depending on how busy the network is. In a traditional sense, when you go to the bank, if the bank's busy, you don't expect to pay more fees. Whereas obviously in crypto, that is experienced quite often when the network becomes busier, the fees go up. So we built in mechanisms to shield you from that, so the fees are a lot more stable. Apologies, everyone. Our connection was dropped. Stephen, can you just confirm where you lost me, so I can go back to the relevant question?
You were just sharing, where we are in terms of where we're going in the next year for the 2024 live.
Okay, apologies. Yeah. My connection must have dropped. So I think let me move on to the next question. So there's been a lot of speculation around whether this is a viable project, whether BlockDAG is a viable project, and questions about asking us to address that. So I think off the bat, I mean, I'd like to just say that we should have come forward and we should have opened up to the team sooner. So we realize that. But what I can say is this project is definitely viable. We're absolutely committed to the goal of launching BlockDAG. It's extremely important that we make that we're creating a sustainable long-term project with a vibrant community of developers and partners. And we will commit also to full transparency going forward. So we're going to have a lot more of these sessions where we open up to you. So we seem to be having a few technical issues here. I hope my camera is on. Okay, good. The next question is, there are rumors that the technology you have is unproven and therefore in the real world it may fail to have any real use. So I think it's a very good question. We have a large team. We've got a team of 25 developers working on this. They've been flat out busy on it for a good number of months, almost since the beginning of the year. That doesn't say that it means it won't fail, but I can tell you we're certainly building a lot of momentum in terms of what we're developing. I think what's important here is that we're not building from scratch. It was a decision we made to take technology that was existing, and that was the blockchain as well as the DAG, and integrating them, and then obviously bringing in EVM as well. So if we were building from scratch, there would be a lot more technical challenges. We've taken, I think, the smart approach, which allows us to deliver something far more functional, far more future-proof, and in a quicker space of time as well. The next question was, how big is the development team? I've just mentioned that we've got 25 people in the development team. We chose not to share the source code up till now, again, because we were focusing on what we were building. In the next month, that will be open sourced, so that everyone will have the opportunity to look at it, to vet it, etc. So that'll happen, as I said, in the next month. There have been quite a few questions around BlockDAG price going into the future, whether that's in 5 years' time or 1 year. So I certainly wouldn't want to speculate on the price. At the end of the day, it's an open market. But let's just look at where we are now. So BlockDAG at the moment is in a pre-sale. We're a utility token, so we're offering a discount to the launch price. At launch, we'll be launching at 5 cents, but right now the price is at a discount, and that discount will reduce as we get closer to the launch date. Obviously, the actual price after launch is dependent on many factors. For instance, the exchanges we're on, the amount of activity on the network, the partners that we have, the applications that have been built on top of it, etc. The next question we have, which I'm going to ask Stephen to answer, is which institutional investors and venture capitalists are you in discussion with for a capital injection into BlockDAG?
Hey everyone. Well, it's a little too early to share those specifics. We're evaluating all the opportunities that make sense to evaluate. We're looking for strategic partnerships, and we're taking the time to be mindful about both building our brand, building out relationships with the appropriate exchanges, and thinking about the strategies for both the future developer ecosystem that will power DApp developers and potential layer 2 integrations, and really trying to be mindful about what the long-term strategy is that's going to be most beneficial to the community. That's where we are, but we're making progress in that direction to bring on as many investors, future liquidity providers, and other interested participants into the ecosystem. Anthony?
Okay, thanks very much, Stephen. The next question is, will institutional investors be required to commit to long-term vesting periods? So we will need to take this on a case-by-case basis, but I think what's important here is, from a policy perspective, is that we don't have institutional investors that front-run everyone else who's already supported us. So as a minimum, they would be subject to the same vesting schedule. If anything, they would be on a longer vesting schedule. So certainly we wouldn't want to prejudice our community by having the institutional investors being able to cash out sooner than you are. The next question is, who is looking after the funds that have been invested, and what will they be used for? So I think first, if we can just look at the use of the funds. So a lot of the funds have gone back into marketing. I mean, I've mentioned the number of people that have bought. You've seen there's a lot of marketing happening. It's important for the launch of any network that the marketing happens, because it's about the size of the network that ultimately gives us that sustainability. So a lot of the money that's come in is used for marketing. A lot of it's going to the platform development. As I said, we've got 25 developers. That excludes a lot of other people that are putting time in terms of designers, content creators, etc. So platform development. We're also creating a pool of money which is earmarked for liquidity. Obviously, when we launch on exchanges, we need to provide liquidity. And then the fourth thing, which is very crucial, is money for the future of the ecosystem. So I think I mentioned earlier, we're about to start setting up a foundation in Switzerland. We looked at a few other jurisdictions. I think Switzerland is the place that we still feel is best suited to what we're trying to achieve. So the foundation is there ready for the future sustainability of the ecosystem. So it's where the proceeds from the pre-sale go. It'll be managed for the good of the community. We're looking at initiatives like creating grants and creating funding mechanisms. Those will be used to incentivize developers to come in and build on top of us, and will be used for other incentive type initiatives for the community. As I mentioned, the unused funds from the pre-sale, as well as unminted coins, going to the foundation as well, and that's really there for the good of the community. Another question is around the long-term vision and the goals for the project, and how we plan to achieve them. So BlockDAG's innovative hybrid architecture positions us very well as a leading blockchain platform and allow us to power a wide range of decentralized applications. So in the next 3 to 5 years, we expect to be one of the premium layer 1 blockchains, and we expect to go head-to-head with the likes of Ethereum and Solana. So a lot of people might say, well, is that realistic? We haven't launched yet, etc. So I mean, we're extremely bold about what we're doing. The technology we're building, we know is unique. It addresses a lot of the issues that are out there. The partnerships we're forging as well will make a massive difference. So we really believe that's entirely feasible. The other thing to remember that in times of significant innovation and change, it's often not the first to market that's the most successful. It's those that come later, and that's exactly what we're doing. We will benefit from what's been built before us. It means we can leverage that. We're not breaking new ground. We're coming in and we're building on top of what's been done by others. So that's a massive advantage to us, and that's quite common, as I said, in times like this. The next question is, what partnerships or collaborations do you have in place to drive mass adoption and growth of BlockDAG? And I think, Stephen, this is a good one for you to field, please.
Yeah, thank you. One of the strategies that makes the most sense is to get as much liquidity into the ecosystem as possible. To that end, we're looking at having 15 to 20 exchanges listing BlockDAG at Go Live. That's going to allow us to, really be part of the ecosystem. Many of the things that are happening globally around blockchain adoption and everything from the CBDC space to regulations that are much more considering that, we're living in a world where blockchain is going to be one of the core things that, that are part of our lives. We think that we can bring on mass adoption by supporting all the applications that that the world needs. As our plan is to be a strong layer 1 and have a good set of applications like oracles, DEXs, privacy frameworks, lending and borrowing, and all the different things that could be built on top of BlockDAG, including bridges to other networks. Blockchains are really the internets or the new networks to power our future market networks. We're going to see a great many different types of applications, and by working with our community, the developers that we will support with grants and other incentives, we hope to get as much adoption and taking advantage of these second mover advantages that we have from learning the lessons and stumbles of other ecosystems, and partnering with the greater blockchain ecosystem so that we can have a really awesome go-to-market. Making applications easy to develop and making it easy for our investors to participate in these things is one of the paths to that. Thanks.
Okay, thanks very much, Stephen. It seems that there seems to be an issue with my camera. I apologize, I've turned it on and off. I think some people are seeing me and others aren't, so apologies for that. The next question is around the listings. Stephen's mentioned around that already. It's a specific question of will we list on tier 1 exchanges like Binance and Coinbase? As he said, I think it's a bit early to speculate on that. We're opening up discussions with all the exchanges, with big exchanges, and we certainly expect to be on a good number of them by the time we launch. As soon as we have anything concrete around that, we'll let the community know. The next question is, how do you plan to address potential security risks and protect user funds from hacking or cyber attacks? Yusuf, I think this probably sits with your brain.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, so I work as Chief Security Officer at BlockDAG. So my responsibility is to advise and monitor the dev team. As Anthony mentioned, the dev team is more about 25 developers. So my job is to write something that is secure, 100% secure before the release. So we do audit to all smart contracts, and we have like independent audits done on blockchain, and we have our internal smart contracts auditing framework made by me. So yeah, this is. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Joseph. Just to mention here, we will use third parties to audit both the blockchain, the code we've written, as well as the smart contracts before we go live. So obviously, Yusuf is our internal specialist, but we will use externals as well. That's certainly important to us. The next question is, how does BlockDAG plan to foster innovation and encourage high-quality projects within the ecosystem? Stephen, if you want to handle this.
Yeah, sure. Innovation is a challenge. I think everyone that's ever tried building a company, tried their hand at a startup, it's challenging to try to figure out how to build net new things. One of the ways that we can encourage effective innovation within the BlockDAG ecosystem is by providing toolkits. In the development space, there are lots of different ways that we can support our developers, again, with grants and these types of things. Example code, templates, frameworks that encourage both test-driven development, good best practices, and really sharing these types of techniques with the ecosystem, and really powering the ecosystem with, our second mover advantage to the other layer ones. I think that's the right strategy. But in addition to that, I know this is kind of outside the question, but when we think about the blockchain ecosystem and token or incentivized networks as what we are building with tokens and blockchain networks, I think we can really help entrepreneurs think about the things that they're building strategically, not just as a raw technology, but how do they build new systems and businesses on top of BlockDAG. I think that's the right strategy, just really engagement with the community. That's it.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. We've only actually surprisingly had, I think, one question on the regulatory side, even though it is important. So the question is, how are you addressing regulatory challenges in the crypto space? So I think, it's quite a broad discussion this around the regulations. We're selling internationally. We sell our coin internationally. So we touch on a lot of regulations in a lot of countries. Some are more onerous than others. I think we're all aware of that. So I think just broadly, I'd like to just mention we work very closely with our legal advisors. They watch what we do. They advise what we can and can't do, where we need to go to make sure that we're compliant. You may be aware there's new regulations coming out called MiCA, which applies to Europe. That goes live in December, so we're looking quite carefully at that to determine how that impacts on what we're doing. So yeah, that's always front of mind in terms of making sure that we stay compliant from a regulatory point of view. The next set of questions relate to mining. So there were quite a few questions asked around the miners, the specifications, some questions around the hash power, etc. So what we prefer to do is actually have a separate AMA and go into more depth around the mining. So I'm just going to touch on a couple of the high-level ones, but as I say, we'd rather avoid going into too much detail right now. So one of the questions was, besides the BlockDAG miners that we're promoting on our site, can third parties or can others with third-party miners also mine the BlockDAG token? And that's absolutely yes. As long as they support the SHA-256 algorithm, then they can also mine as well. Obviously, they need to join our network, or they need to be part of a mining pool that connects to our network. There's also been questions around the timing of the miners that have been pre-ordered and whether they'll be delivered before we go live on mainnet. Obviously, important to us is to make sure that everyone that has committed get their miners before we go live. So we'll start putting information out in terms of the miners and the delivery of them. The next one is, how is it possible to pre-mine coins before the network is live? And also, there are quite a few questions around the X1, X10, and asking how is it possible to mine on a mobile when it's supposed to be proof of work, which, as we all know, tends to be quite difficult to do. So I think it's important to understand, and it's possibly our fault for using the wrong terms, but the X1, X10 are proof of engagement miners. So they're not doing proof of work. They're effectively incentivizing yourselves to engage with us, and that's why it's called proof of engagement. The incentive is for you to engage, and it's also for you to share and promote BlockDAG within your circles. So we shouldn't mix the two up. The mining happens in the X30s and the X100s, and those are full proof of work miners, whereas the X1, X10 are proof of engagement. The X1 beta app is out at the moment. It's worth mentioning it is a beta, so we are making rapid changes to it. There's been a lot of feedback from the market. We've got a lot more people on it than we expected, which is fantastic. There's been a huge uptake, but we just ask everyone to be aware that it is a beta version. We're making quite a few changes as we get feedback. There have been issues with it, as you would expect with a beta version. We're fixing them as quickly as we can. So if you can just please bear with us on that. We're doing what we can to make it work for you. So we're certainly not sort of, no one's being ignored. If you have issues, we'll deal with it as soon as possible. And I think, as I said, other detailed questions around the mining, we'll rather host a separate AMA so we can go into some of that detail. The next question is, will a plan be developed and vetting procedures implemented to prevent new token projects from executing rug pulls? Obviously, everyone's super nervous about this, and no one really wants to be associated with this. Again, this is more on the policy side. So, Stephen, if you want to give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, sure. We want to make sure that we're building a decentralized ecosystem that really powers our community. So we don't want to do anything specifically, but I personally hope that we can learn from projects like the Token Engineering Academy and other such initiatives to create a robust way of considering what tokenomics are imbued within a token project. And what that really is talking about is really using things like Monte Carlo simulations to simulate various token projects. And I imagine that we would encourage a community set of standards around tools to evaluate token projects built on top of BlockDAG. I think that might be the good way, again, leaning on community, but leveraging best practices like Monte Carlo simulation.
Okay, thanks very much, Stephen. We had another question on the target price range for our coin by December. Again, I think I've answered that previously, so I won't go back into that. There are questions around burning coins. We're busy finalizing our economic model. There's a lot that goes into it. Obviously, what's very important is that we're building something sustainable. So as much as everyone wants fees to be super low, we also need to make sure that at the end of the day, the network can sustain itself once the mining rewards reduce. So obviously over time, the mining rewards reduce and the fees need to take that up. So we're building the economic models around that. Part of that includes looking at what we burn, how much we burn. Obviously, the benefit of burning coins is taking coins out of circulation, which boosts the price of the coins. So once we've finalized that, we'll certainly communicate the details of that. Another question is, will BlockDAG implement its own exchange in the future? So obviously at launch, the plan is to launch primarily on centralized exchanges. That's where the bulk of the volume sits. In terms of our own exchange, I think what's important is we would hope, and we in discussions around people building or other third parties building an exchange on top of us. So that's the type of functionality we'd like to promote that the developers build. What we don't want to do is cannibalize our own market by building apps on top of ourselves that others would like to do. So we prefer to make the rails available, put in place the right incentives, etc., and have third parties build the right functionality and services using our layer one. And obviously building a decentralized exchange is one of those that we're hoping will be done shortly. The next one is, when can we expect the project to be available on GitHub, as it is open source, or when is it going to become open source? So we are on DevNet at the moment. We should be releasing to testnet quite shortly, and at that point we'll also open it up onto GitHub as well. So that will be end of September. End of August, beginning of September, around then. There's questions around the 12-month halving, which it says it seems unusual, not based on block count. Different chains have taken different approaches. Bitcoin has obviously taken a time-based approach. Other chains have taken their own unique approach. As I mentioned earlier, we're looking at a continuous devaluation instead of a halving at specific times. And from the modeling we've done, we believe that supports a more gradual reduction in incentives that the miners earn. So it's less dramatic or drastic on them, and it encourages stability of prices across the network. There's a question, why did blockchain choose proof of work rather than proof of stake? I'm going to ask Yusuf to answer that, but if I can just mention, we chose Bitcoin because it's the gold standard. We believe in it. There's a lot of good reasons from a tech perspective and from a security perspective. Yusuf, if you want to give us your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Anthony. As we know that Bitcoin is the legend, and the proof of work has a long of history, proven of security history. And the proof of work, in order to hack it, you need more computational power. That means you need CPU power. That means which is very costly. So the BlockDAG team think that we need to satisfy, the blockchain trilemma, which is security, scalability, and decentralization. So every blockchain network have like one of these kind of stuff. So for example, for the Bitcoin is very slow, so that's why we have BlockDAG, which is very fast. So fast, we use DAG, which is direct acyclic, and which is very fast. And we have EVM compatible. That's mean you can develop your own smart contracts. You can benefit for the EVM compatible, and at the same time, proof of work is more secure, and all these kind of stuff, you can find them, all of them, in BlockDAG. However, in other blockchain network, it is just 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 3, which is very hard to gather all these kind of stuff in one blockchain network.
Okay, thanks, Yusuf.
You're welcome.
So the next question is, will BlockDAG provide grants to encourage third-party developers to create apps? So I think I have touched on this, but again, to mention, we are setting up the foundation in Switzerland, and that is to look after, for the good of the community, the pre-sale money. That'll be made available to developers through various initiatives, grants, funding, etc. So that's a key part of our future roadmap. The next question is, what happens when BDAG goes live? Will most people simply sell their tokens? So I think, we need to be realistic. Some people will sell, but equally we're expecting that there are going to be a lot of people interested in the network and as we launch on the large exchange, there will be a lot of interest in our coin. So we expect a lot of buying as well. More than that, I don't necessarily want to speculate. I think what's key, and I mentioned it earlier, is once we get to the end of the pre-sale, it's key that we've generated interest, we've shown a roadmap, etc. So that's what we're really doing now. We're putting together all the pieces of the puzzle that make us a sustainable long-term blockchain that is unique, that has a place in the future, and that gives future projects a good reason to build on top of us. As Yusuf said, we believe we will satisfy the trilemma. We'll have a blockchain that is fast, that's secure. The fees will be low, and we will be decentralized as well. I think that covers that. Just on the marketing side, after launch, it's not that we'll stop marketing. That's part of who we are. We need to keep promoting ourselves, but the nature of the marketing will change over time. Obviously, a pre-launch marketing campaign is different to a campaign once we live. So the nature of that will change, but we will continue to promote the company and the blockchain, etc. The next question is, and this links a little bit to previous questions, are there any incentives for the community to hold onto their tokens rather than sell them? In many proof-of-stake networks, we can earn staking rewards, but there does not seem to be anything like this in BlockDAG. And Stephen, if I can ask you to answer that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Reducing selling pressure would help stabilize the token price. The consensus algorithm doesn't require staking, but we can certainly look at adding this into the chain in the future to incentivize their commitment. When you think about things like staking, restaking, they're really applications that are built on top of the protocol. And we hope that the community decides to build these types of things, and we'll certainly look to supporting that within the layer one.
Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, I think just to add to that, it's definitely one of our plans. We'd like to encourage people to hold on, and it's not just because we want you not to sell. It's because we believe that there's a good reason to be involved for the long term with the project. So we'd like everyone to stay on to see that come to fruition. We'll put these incentives in place. They won't be long term because that doesn't that's not sustainable, but certainly short term, while the network's launching and growing, we'll make these available. The next question is, what will the transaction fees be and who actually earns them? So as I mentioned, we're busy finalizing our token economy model. It's quite a bit more complicated than just sort of a quick spreadsheet and picking some fees at random. So there's been a fair bit of work that's gone into it. It's driven by two things. There's earning from mining, and then there's earnings from fees as well. Now, initially, obviously, the mining rewards going to miners are high, so that is sufficient to bring miners on board. Over time, as those mining fees are reduced, which is part of the so-called halving or the continuous halving that we're talking about, as that reduces, the fees that are earned by the miners need to take up the slack so that the miners are still incentivized to provide that service. Obviously, the whole consensus mechanism is based off miners and a significant number of decentralized miners, so they need to be incentivized. So the fees need to have been worked out so that they provide the right level of incentive, but equally they're low enough that that they're not going to be anywhere sort of near the Ethereums, etc. So from a fee split perspective, again, we're looking at where the fee's going. Indications are that a portion of the fees will come back to BlockDAG. And when I say BlockDAG, I mean the foundation. So those go into the foundation, obviously, to be put back into the community to either incentivize the community or over time potentially to be burned, which is obviously for the good of the, or to reduce circulating coins. I've come to the end of the questions. If either Stephen or Yusuf want to add anything else, otherwise I'm going to finish off. Any other last thoughts from you guys?
Yeah, just to that, we have a really great opportunity to, learn from, the last decade or so of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, all these other projects, and try to build something that can be stable for the community and, be one of the best blockchains out there.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, so our job here is to achieve blockchain trilemma and also financial democracy. So, I mean, Bitcoin doesn't solve the whole problem of the humanity, neither Ethereum, but I mean, trying with BlockDAG and the team and the community, we will try together to solve this blockchain trilemma. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thanks, Yusuf. So I think just from my side, I mean, first of all, a warm thanks to everyone for joining us. We appreciate your time. I know we've had some technical issues, and I apologize. I think we purposefully didn't try and do too much tech on this. We thought we'd keep it low key, but obviously that hasn't necessarily worked in our favor. We will be having more AMAs more frequently. We'll certainly have one around mining, so that'll answer some of the specific mining questions. We're happy to have AMAs around the technology as well. So if that's an interest to everyone, if they're keen to sort of learn more on the technology side, we can certainly do that. But I think it's just what I'm trying to say is that we'll be a lot more open from now on. We're going to be more transparent, and certainly regular AMAs is the way to go. So yeah, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thanks to the broader community for supporting us in our endeavors, and I look forward to having you on further AMAs. I think there is going to be a poll after this, if I'm not mistaken. So please, if you wouldn't mind letting us know how you feel. Obviously, from a tech perspective, it didn't all go particularly well, but I hope we've answered some of your questions. And in the future, as we have more time to communicate, we'll certainly cover a lot more questions. So once again, thanks very much to Stephen and Yusuf for joining me on the panel, from Morris, who couldn't be here, from Hong Kong, and from myself. We appreciate your time, and thanks very much, and good evening.